Imagine this. Instead of using a public shared workshop for your projects, where you have to wait for tools and you can't set things up just right, what if you could build your very own private one, a place with every single tool exactly where you want it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today with self-hosted agents in Azure DevOps. We're building a custom workshop just for our code. So let's dive right in. Here's our plan for today. First, we're going to tackle the big question. Why would you even want to self-host? Then, we'll get our hands dirty building the agent's home, creating what's called an agent pool. And then, the really cool part, connecting the two. And to wrap it all up, we'll run our very first pipeline on our brand new custom setup. All right, first things first. Why would you go to the trouble of self-hosting? Every time your pipeline runs, it needs a computer to do the actual work. That's called an agent. And to really get why you'd build your own, we've got to compare it using that public workshop versus having your very own private one.
And here's the difference in a nutshell. On the one hand, you've got Microsoft-hosted agents. And hey, these are fantastic. They're all managed for you, they're ready to go, and for most common stuff, they're perfect. But they are a shared resource. On the other hand, you have self-hosted agents. Now, this is your private workshop. You set it up, you're in charge of it, but in return, you get total, absolute control over the operating system, all the installed software. The entire environment is yours.
Okay, enough talk, let's start building. So part 2 is all about building the agent's home. And our first real practical step is to get a virtual machine ready. This machine is going to be the foundation for our entire custom setup. We're kicking things off right here in the Azure portal. As you can see, we're just creating a new virtual machine. This isn't just some temporary server, though. You got to think of it as the dedicated, permanent home for our build agent. Now, when you're setting this up, there are a few really critical choices to make. First, the image. We're going with Windows Server 2022 as our OS. For the size, we'll just pick something standard and cost-effective. You can always scale it up later if you need more horsepower. The really important one here for setup is inbound ports. We have to allow RDP, which is how we'll connect to the machine to get everything configured. And finally, identity. We're turning on a system-assigned identity. This is a super secure, modern way for our VM to get access to other Azure stuff without us having to juggle any passwords or secret keys. Okay, now let's pop over to the Azure DevOps side of things. Part 3, creating the agent pool. We've built the house for our agent, right? Now we need to register it with the city, so to speak. This just means creating a logical group inside Azure DevOps to manage our new agent.
So, what in the world is an agent pool? It's really simple. It's just a named collection of your agents. When you create a self-hosted pool, you're basically putting up a sign that tells Azure DevOps, hey, I've got this new custom workshop over here. When I ask for it by name, I need you to send the work right here.
And this is exactly what that step looks like. We're in our Azure DevOps project settings, and we're just clicking Add Pool. Now, the single most important click you're going to make here is choosing the self-hosted type. After that, we just give it a nice, clear name so that when we see it in our code later, we know exactly what we're dealing with. Now, here's a super important tip. Security first. When you're setting up this pool, you're going to see a little checkbox that says Grant Access Permission to all pipelines. It is a really good idea to leave this unchecked. Why? Because this way, you have to consciously and deliberately give permission only to the specific pipelines that need to use this agent. It's much safer than just opening the floodgates to everything by default. Okay, so we've got our VM ready to go, and we have our agent pool set up in DevOps. Now for section 4, which is really the heart of the whole process, connecting the agent. This is where we create that secure link between our machine and the cloud. So the big question is, how do we do this securely? I mean, we can't just plug in a simple username and password, right? We need a modern, safe way to create a trusted connection between our private machine and our DevOps project in the cloud. Luckily, the process is a pretty straightforward 4-step dance. First, we create a special security key. It's called a Personal Access Token, or PAT for short. Then we jump onto our VM and download the agent software from Microsoft. We run a quick configuration script using that PAT we just made, and for the grand finale, we just hop back to the DevOps portal to make sure our agent is online and ready for action. Let's take a closer look at creating that PAT, because this is really important. This is not a master key. As you can see here, we are creating a token with a very, very specific and limited scope. It can only read and manage agent pools. That's it. This is what's known as the principle of least privilege. The token gets the absolute bare minimum permissions it needs to do its job and nothing more. And the documentation really hammers this point home with this quote. Use the least privilege option.
make sure you set the minimum expiration date for the token. Think about it. This token is just for this one-time setup. You create it, you copy it, you use it immediately, and then you want it to expire. It's basically a single-use key. And here is where we actually use that key. Once we're on our VM and we've got the agent software downloaded, we just run this simple configuration script. It's just a little command line conversation. It's going to ask for our Azure DevOps URL, it'll ask for that pat we just copied, and it'll ask which pool it should join. We just feed it the answers, and it takes care of the rest. And voila! This is the payoff for all that setup. We're back in the Azure DevOps portal, looking at our agent pool. And there it is. Our new agent is listed by name, and it has that beautiful little green dot next to it that says Online. It's now officially part of our fleet, just sitting there, waiting for instructions. And that brings us to the final, and honestly, the most rewarding part. Section 5, running our first pipeline. We've done all the prep work, all the configuration. Now it's time to actually put our custom workshop to work on a real project. So we have a pipeline that's already defined in code using YAML. How do we tell that pipeline, hey, stop using those public shared agents, and from now on, I want you to use my brand new private machine? Would you believe it's this simple? It is literally a one-line change. Before, the code specified a VM image, which basically told Azure Pipelines to just grab a generic machine from Microsoft's public pool. The new way on the right simply specifies the name of the pool we created. We're just swapping a request for a generic tool for a request for our very own specific custom workshop. And here's what that change looks like in the context of the actual YAML file. See that? We've just gotten rid of that old VM image line and replaced it with a simple pool block that points right to our eShop on Web Self-Pool by its name. With just that tiny edit, every single job in this pipeline is now going to be routed directly to our VM. And that's it. That is the entire switch. Your pipeline is now executing on a machine that you have complete and total control over. Any custom software you need, any specific version of an SDK, any security hardening your company requires, it's all there, and it's there consistently for every single run. So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways here. First, self-hosted agents are all about giving you full granular control over your build environment. Second, the setup process is a really clear path. You create the host machine, you define the agent pool in DevOps, and then you link them with that secure pat. And finally, telling your pipeline to use it, it's just a simple one-line change in your YAML file. So we've gone all the way from just an idea to a fully operational, custom-build agent. You've now built the workshop, designed perfectly for whatever you need. The only real question left is, what amazing things are you going to build inside?
Hey everyone, in this lab section, we'll go through configure agent pools and understand pipeline styles. I will pass this link, which is GitHub link for this lab, and I will also pass that Microsoft Learn link so that you can follow with this lab. So here I have already connected to Microsoft or Azure DevOps portal and already set up like prerequisite for this lab service connection. So here is service connection details, which is a prerequisite for Azure DevOps lab. Now we are going to clone the repositories. So for that files and then down below that import button and pass the repository URL to clone this one. Click import. So it has got required folders and file structure. Next, we are going to create main branch as a default branch. Now let's here we are going to create and connect to an Azure VM. So for that we are going to create a VM with presets option. Select the subscription, select resource group, give a VM name, then select the region, availability option, security type, then image. So here we are selecting Windows Server 2022 Data Center Azure Edition. After that, give a username for your preference and also password. Inbound port 3389 for our DP port. Next, networking, we are not changing any value here, considering all the default value for disk networking. Under management section, we are enabling system assign manage identity checkbox. So then click review plus create. So validation is in progress. When validation pass, click create button to create a virtual machine. So deployment is in progress. So let's go to the resource and then click on connect. Connect. Then select the download RDP file. Then click keep. Open that RDP connection files. Click connect. Pass the password that you entered before. So here we have connected to virtual machine. Select yes here for network. Now from here, let's connect to Azure DevOps portal. So you will get a few messages when you first time try to connect through Microsoft Edge. So here I have logged in. Click on project settings and you can see that agent pools under pipeline. Then click add pool. And here we are going to select self-hosted pool type. Give a so it's a own infrastructure for maximum control and flexibility. Now give a pool name. Make sure that grant access permission to all pipelines option is unchecked. Then click on create button. You can see that agent pools here. Now here, click that one, that agents, and then click the download the agent file. And you can see the instruction here also, that how to install that particular agent. Now let's open a PowerShell session. So going to create a directory, and then after that going to the directory. Execute the command. So now we are going to execute this command config.cmd to configure the agent. And it's saying that's it. So here we have to pass that server URL. And now here it is coming that enter authentication type is PAT token. Enter personal access token. So you need to get the token information. So you get that from your user settings, from the right side top menu. And here you see that personal access tokens or PAT. And here create a new token. Give a name, new token name. and you can check the organization and also the expiration. So scope is full access. We can do also custom defined. So in this lab perspective, we are doing custom defined. And under agent pools, we are selecting read and manage options. I think that's the only option we need to select for our lab. Now let's go down and click on create button to create the token. And we need to copy value and save it in a safe place because this is one time only. Otherwise, you have to drop and recreate token again. So here, like that, I'm showing that you can regenerate token. So it's enter agent pool. So we are getting the agent pool information here now. And then it's looking for agent name. We're going to give an agent name. So it's scanning for tool capabilities. So it seems all good. Connecting to the server, successfully added the agent, testing agent connection. Enter work folder. So you can select the default option. So for this section of setup, the values we need to pass, you can go through the document. So it's giving a message that it started successfully. And now to validate that, let's go back to Azure DevOps portal. And here you can see that the agent is showing online and it's under the agent list. Now we are going to start a web browser. And this time we are going to download and install Azure CLI. Then we are downloading Microsoft.NET 8 SDK installer. So here we are installing .NET SDK 8.0.403. Now let's go to the pipeline section and click on create pipeline. And we are going to create a new pipeline. So we have to select that where is our code, and that is repository repos git. Select a repository and existing YAML file. Now we need to select our path file path for this one. So which is .ado eshop owner -ci -pr.yml. Press enter and then click continue. Then you can review your pipeline YAML file. So it's a single instance build and also one single job, build job, and it has got 4 tasks: .NET Restore, .NET Build, .NET Test, and .NET Publish. So we first save here. Now we are going to update the pipeline. And then click edit button. And here that line 13 where it is giving that VM image, Ubuntu image latest, we're going to remove that one. And adding that one to designing the newly created self-hosted agent pool. Then we are going to check that validate. And when that all good, then we are going to click on run button to run the pipeline job. So click run button here. And you can click on build to see the jobs or pipeline jobs status. So you can open in second window and you can see that it pipeline needs permission. So click view options. Then give the permit. So click that permit button. Again, click on permit. So now build job is in progress now, and you can see the status by expanding that options. So there are different fields and options available. You can go through and see those status and get to know more about all those options available. You can see that most of the jobs, the pipeline jobs, are completed now. So that means we have successfully completed our lab. If you have any question, you can put that into comment sections. Otherwise, see you into next lab.